Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater, and I thought this would be a fun one to do. I wanted to take a look at the Rotten Tomato scores for The Boss Baby. Now, this is a movie I first saw a preview for at Comic-Con last year. They showed us a trailer for it, and I think an extended scene, and the response was interesting to say the least. It was one of the ones that my friends and I were just like, why the fuck are they showing this to us now? Like, they just showed us half the movie of Trolls. That was great. And then they show us this and it was bad. But then as the advertising campaign went on and everything else kind of ramped up for its release, I started seeing more previews. And the more previews I saw, the more humor I saw. And the more humor I saw, the more I laughed. And then I would see other people in the audience laughing as well. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like maybe the first impression wasn't necessarily the best. And now I'm actually curious to see this movie. I don't think I'm going to go see it in theaters. It's not. I don't have kids, so I don't have a child yelling at me to take him to go see it. And even if I did, I would take him to go see Ghost in the Shell because fuck it, grow up. The point is, this movie, again, is about as divisive as Ghost in the Shell. This one has a 46% tomato rating, where Ghost in the Shell has 45%, an audience score of 67%. So let's do what we always do. We're going to take a quick look at the plot line of the movie, then we're going to jump over to the rotten score, then the fresh score, so we can kind of analyze what the general consensus of this film is and what you might be in store for if you go see it. So the plot is as follows. DreamWorks Animation and the director of Madagascar invite you to meet the most unusual baby. He wears a suit, speaks in the voice and wit of Alec Baldwin, and stars in the animated comedy DreamWorks' The Boss Baby. The Boss Baby is a hilariously universal story about how a new baby's arrival impacts a family. Told from the viewpoint of the delightfully unreliable narrator, a wildly imaginative 7-year-old boy named Tim, with a sly, heart-filled message about the importance of family, DreamWorks' The Boss Baby is an authentic and broadly appealing original comedy for all ages. Okay, that didn't really tell me much about the story itself. That feels like something you got from a straight, press release. So there's that. But we can kind of pick apart that a little bit too. So it's from the director of Madagascar. All right, Tom McGrath. Now, the first Madagascar movie I did not think was very good, right? Very similar to how I think the first Despicable Me movie was also not very good. I felt like they were too cynical for their own goods, both of those movies, but the sequels lightened up, and I felt the sequels were both far superior to the originals, and ultimately ones that I will watch time and time again because they were so good. So I'm wondering how this might tie into that as well. So let's just let's take a look at the Rotten score here. So we got the top 5. Alex Welch from IGN Movies says, The Boss Baby never stops feeling like a feature-length film that could have been a 10-minute short at best. And then, you know what? That's a fair criticism of the film. Giving it a 4.8 out of 10. Yeah, that was again, the pitch for it when I first saw the pitch at Comic-Con last year felt like, what is this? This is like something you'd see on Looney Tunes on a Saturday morning. Why is this going to theaters? Ben Ferguson of Willamette Week says, sadly, this breathtakingly ludicrous premise is undermined by the film's insultingly obvious lessons about the virtues of teamwork. It's a fucking kids movie, Ben. It's a fucking kids movie, right? Kids need to be taught that teamwork is okay. Okay, wait till they're in their teens and they become isolationists with their Instagrams and their Snapchats in order to not know the values of teamwork, right? That definitely impacts them when they're in high school, getting stuck doing everyone's work in the group because everyone else is a lazy fucker and you don't want to take the low score, so you just do it all yourself. Yeah, fuck you, Ben. Sorry, that is me getting in there. But the point is, it's okay, fine. It's insultingly obvious lessons about the virtue of teamwork. That's just what kind of... Man, that is some disingenuous shit right there. Because teaching children to work in teams, team building exercises are something you should do because it would carry that through to the rest of their life. All right, going back to Sinead Brennan from RTE Ireland, saying here, it's an animated film about puppies, babies, and sibling rivalry, and the genius comic timing of Alec Baldwin. On paper, it sounds like a sure thing, but it's never as good as the sum of its parts, which does feel like a fair criticism. This is something they were relying on Alec Baldwin. If you look at the trailer for the movie, they have the always be closing line, clearly referencing Glengarry Glen Ross, and that's something that kids aren't going to get, but but parents of those kids probably aren't going to get either because they were kids when Glenn Ross came out, but the grandparents are going to be like, oh yeah, that was a good movie. And they're going to get the joke. And that's very much an obscure, that to me, that feels like an obscure joke when I saw that in the trailer. But Jacob Aller here says, the overfull inbox of business jokes falls spectacularly flat when viewed in our current national climate and seems completely insane in a movie for children. That actually does make a fair amount of sense because, again, like the always be closing or the cookies are for closers line, like that makes, again, that's going back to a film from like the late 80s, when parents of kids who are old enough to go see or enjoy The Boss Baby are going to have been kids themselves when Glenn Ross came out. And that's going to be one where it's like, you might know the joke, but you're not going to get the context of it unless you saw the movie. So, and I could seriously go to pretty much anyone I went to high school with that now has children of the age to see this movie. And I'd be like, you ever see Glenn Ross? And they'll be like, no. I'm like, all right, then there we go. And finally, Yip Hua Yi, from Singapore here says, this film is just like a toddler, cute and energetic, but also constantly confusing everyone about what it wants to do. And that could actually probably be a very solid summarization of the product itself. Again, nothing here is necessarily calling it out for any kind of pure problems. Oftentimes it's basically saying that it's a ridiculous concept, that it overshoots its goal. But that's really about it. And again, it's a kid's movie. That's trying something a little bit different, taking a short concept and then expanding it out. Like was it Danny DeVito's baby from Who Framed Roger? It's not Danny DeVito, but the baby from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Would you want that baby to be a feature length? But like not the baby that he was, like the character. I mean, like when he was in the Roger Rabbit cartoon of like the Goo Goo Gaga baby, like that wouldn't really work out. And this feels kind of like a take on that, where it's like that's the personality of the baby after they get out of all that. But I don't know. We're gonna have to wait to see what happens here, and everything. So let's jump over to the Fresh ratings, because the Fresh will be pretty good here. So let's see. Jim Judy from Screen It here says, a marginally passable talking babies diversion, but nothing more. Full content review for parents, violence, nudity, crude humor, etc. All right. Well, that's kind of an odd pull from the summary. A marginally passable talking babies diversion, aimed for the younger crowd. And again, those jokes about business, so on and so forth, are aimed for the parents. But because I think they're aiming for parents that were maybe alive, whatever in the 80s, it's just not transitioning over. James Verner from the Boston Herald says, not terrible. Boss Baby sounds like Donald Trump. Why is that? Okay, that is him just projecting. If you watch the trailer, well, and I get the joke. It's supposed to be Alec Baldwin, blah, 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 but that is just lame. Moving on. Matthew Lacona from the San Diego Reader says, I could have done without the Cupid doll faces and oversized eyes, but for the most part, where it counts, the Boss Baby gets its kids just right. So again, San Diego Reader, Matthew Lacona here saying that, like, yeah, there's some of the stuff kind of but ultimately it does what it does. Okay, so Laura Crifford here, for director Tom McGrath, the Madagascar trilogy, envisioned the film as a love letter to his older brother, but his baby boss shares some Trumpian attributes, like his favorite phrase, "You're fired." I like to remind people that the phrase "you're fired" has been around long before Donald Trump was on The Apprentice and tried to trademark that shit. But again, Laura Clifford is trying to very much attack, consider the fact that Alec Baldwin is like the number one Trump impersonator in entertainment right now. Her trying to assign this as Trumpian attitudes is just, it's disingenuous. This entire fucking movie is not made in a goddamn, it's not made in a goddamn bubble. I saw a preview for this in the summer of last year before the election, right? Like months before the election, which means this movie was in development for years leading up to that point to show us that trailer and that extended preview. But no. Again, it's like the idiots on the dumb Star Wars side of thing. They're thinking, oh, they're adding an anti-Trump stuff to this movie. People, this is a woman who reviews movies. She knows that this shit is not made in a vacuum. She knows this shit takes time to make, but she can't help from trying to God damn it. All right. And then finally, Catherine Monk from Express.com saying, The result is a baby pool, a colorful piece of entertainment that does its jobs despite being a frustratingly shallow vessel, half filled with something lukewarm. All right, that makes some sense. I get that. It does its job, but it's not. Again, it's for kids. Parents are not going to get it, and that's one of the things with these. With these particular type of film reviews, it's like you have people that are older, these cynical film critics, and I view most film critics as being absolutely cynical because they are, and they're like, this is this. I'm looking at this from my perspective, not what a kid might enjoy. And here's the thing: I worked at movie theaters for 14 years. All right, I did a long time. Worked in movie theaters a long time. Love working there, but you see what the people like to see, and the people are the ones who spend the money, and the people are the ones who bring their kids, and you have to play to that audience, and that's what Boss Baby's going to do. Now, this movie and Ghost in the Shell are going to battle it out for second place this weekend because Beauty and the Beast, still going to reign supreme, unfortunately. But it'll be interesting to see what the results bring us with the box office totals. But looking at this movie, it looks like, again, a passable kids film that's not going to be anything too serious, and it's a distraction for the weekend. And from the basis of it, kids with siblings are probably going to enjoy it. And so I can't tell you if this thing's going to be good or not, just that the trailers kind of considerably got funnier as time went on. And again, I don't know if that's because I first approached this project from a cynical perspective because I saw it at Comic-Con and none of us really knew what to expect from it, and it just looked kind of weird. But then as time went on and I got used to the concept and then I saw some more previews, I started to see the humor in it. Very similar to the movie Sing, in my opinion, where I saw the trailer for it and I was like, I don't really care. And then my girlfriend dragged me to go see it and I fucking loved it. I loved Sing. And so I'm like, maybe this is kind of like that for me too. I don't know. But what do you guys think about this? Do you think that Boss Baby is going to be any good? Do you think that these critics are just too cynical to understand the non-subtle nature of a kids movie? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This has been $3 Theater. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.